I am really happy to be here today. We're going to be talking about anxiety during quarantine, dealing with anxiety. I'm going to give you seven tips that I think will help. Raise your virtual hand or put a 1 in the, so if you're on replay, if you'll put hashtag replay so I know, but if you're watching live, put a 1 in the comment box if you are dealing with a lot of anxiety right now. And put a 2 in the comment box if you're like me and you suppress all your emotions and you tell everybody you're fine. That you secretly have some secret anxiety. Because really, I think if we're all honest, we all have a little bit of angst or anxiety about what's going on because we feel like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Even if you're not scared of the virus, which tends to be, I'm in that camp, not really scared of the virus, but I think the virus will shake out to have, a similar death rate to other viruses we've seen, but we've never really seen this kind of economic impact because of like the shutdown and just all of the ramifications of the shutdown. So my anxiety has been that way, but basically covered up with productivity. So I was listening to Mel Robbins talk about this. I don't know if you follow her, but she's fun to follow. She's really wise. But she's the author of the book, The 5-Second Rule. And she talked about ways that people deal with anxiety. So you can have the overachiever or the overdoer. That would be me. So you sort of like go into overdrive and you're like, well, I'm going to deal with this by kicking some tail. I'm going to deal with this like head on, fight, And then you have the people who underperform, underdo. And not one way is better than the other. Let me assure you, because I'll tell you what happened to me. But I would love to know if you feel like when you're in a time of crisis or you're under pressure or you're in a worldwide pandemic, do you tend to underperform or overperform? In the long run, I feel like they both shake out to about the same place. So those of us who overperform, what happened to me the first, 4 weeks of this is I just set a bunch of goals. Like, I'm just going to crush quarantine. I'm going to learn how to make sourdough. I'm going to exercise every day. I'm going to reorganize my whole house. That would be me. Overdoer. I'll tell you what you got to worry about with the overdoer. Here's what happens to the overdoer if you're not careful. And I knew this about myself from the past, and I still let it happen again, you guys. So what I did is I just powered through. I didn't realize that I wasn't allowing myself to process any negative emotion. I just kind of shut out. I mean, I'm like, no, we got to get to work. Quarantine at home for a month or 6 weeks or 2 months, I'm going to crush it. The problem with that is that if you don't allow yourself to grieve what you're grieving, there are a lot of things. I think part of what happened to me with my little crash is that I wrongly decided that because my life is pretty great, I don't have the right to be stressed. And that's a mistake because you just then pretend like you're not. You pretend like none of it bothers you. The fact that, you can't go do all the things that you did. The fact that your kids are at home all the time and now you can't work like you worked. Like, I just kind of, pushed it all down. Like, no, I don't have the right to be stressed because my situation is so much better than a lot of people. However, that could be true. However, what I realized, one of the things that was really stressing me silently that I wouldn't allow is that I felt like I wasn't doing very good at anything. I wasn't really getting the work that I wanted to get done for work, but I wasn't really charging forward homeschooling Tom, and I was making some headway in my house, but it just felt like everything was you're doing kind of okay. And that really started to bother me. Like, oh my gosh, if this drags on, like Tom's going to get behind and I'm going to get behind in work. And what are we going to do? So when I finally let all of that just come out, the thing that's interesting is I had a online emotion code, like therapy session that helped me bring this to light, which was really good. And I realized that, you know, even if my situation is a lot better than other people, I have to like grieve my own situation. I'm in a situation now where I'm homeschooling a very rambunctious 7-year-old that doesn't want to read and doesn't want to do math and wants to have giant, big, dangerous, messy, muddy adventures every day. And what I wanted to be doing was doing my work and, you know, serving my community and all those things. So I had to kind of have like a moment with myself where I was like, you know what? You're just one of the humans and it's okay. So that really helped me. But what I noticed after that, you guys, is that I went into several days of I just wanted to sit by the fire. I wanted to listen to somber music. I wanted to take naps. Like all my productivity just left. So those of us who tend to overdo it will hit a wall if we're not careful and if we're not willing to feel what we feel and process the emotion and go through it. We will probably hit a wall, which is what I did. And then the underperformer. So if you're the underperformer, let me know. Raise your virtual hand if you're the underperformer. The underperformer will tend to do just the opposite. It will be so much harder for them at the first of it. And then they will adjust and go, you know what? I kind of need to just get busy and deal with this. This is my new normal or whatever. So the thing of it is, you both tend to end up at the same place. The overperformer goes hard and crashes, and the underperformer starts here and then comes up to here. So I just find that is interesting at times like this, that we tend to be one or the other. I want to talk about 7 practical ways that we can deal with the anxiety that we have, that we can acknowledge it, that we can speak about the elephant in the room and decide what we want to make it mean, what we want to do about it, how we want to feel about it. So we just take ownership of even the negative parts. We take ownership of all of it and go, it's okay. This is what it means to be a human being. It means we have scary times and uncertain times and times of anxiety and times of worry and times of joy and times of security, all of it. And that we just welcome all of it, that we just open ourselves up to the whole of the human experience and be willing to be there for all of it. So the first thing that I want to say with just practical ways that you can help yourself deal with it, the first practical thing that I want to talk about is just your routine or your habits. So here's what we tend to do with our routine and habits. If we have a good routine and habits, when we get into times of stress, we kind of let it go. If we don't have any routine and habits, it just becomes like a weird free-for-all, like, you know, we just don't have any parameters set. And the thing of it is that there's so much you can't control, y'all. Like there's so much we can't control. We can't control when things are going to open back up. We can't control how many people get the virus. We can't control what happens to the economy. We can't control that our kids are not going back to school. There's so much that we can't control. But there's also so much we can control. You get to decide what your days look like. You get to decide what time you wake up. You get to decide if you're going to take a nap. You get to decide if you're going to have a time that you exercise. You get to decide so much. And here's the funny thing. The only thing you've ever had control of is still the only thing you have control of, which is yourself. How you decide to think about what's currently going on, how you decide to feel during this time, and what actions you take. That's all you've ever had control of. And more than ever, it's important that you acknowledge that, yes, there's so much I can control. So one of my coaches said this, like, give equal airtime to both. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can't control. That's always true. It's always true. We don't know what's going to happen to the economy. We don't know what's going to happen in the world. That's always been true. But it's also always true that the thing you can control is you. Your response, the way you choose to think about it, the way, if you're willing to welcome half the negative stuff that comes your way and the negative emotion you feel, the disappointment you feel that things have been canceled or whatever, are you willing to feel it all? And are you willing to acknowledge that the reason you feel the way you feel is because you choose to think about it the way you think about it? So there's so much that you can control. Habits are really, really important right now. So whatever habits you can keep in place. For me, I have continued to hold on to exercise. I love being able to move my body. It grounds me. It helps me relieve stress. We're going to talk about it in just a second. But I want you to think about the routines that you can hang on to. Maybe you can't do your work at the same time you did before. Maybe bedtime is weird. But there's so much you can control, and ask yourself, what are the habits that I can hold on to, that I can start even, that will really help me, will put some guardrails on my time and on my days that will help me feel grounded. Number 2, get up and get dressed. This sounds kind of dumb, probably, but I have been getting dressed every day of quarantine. I get up. I usually, if I'm going to do my workout first, I'll wait till after my workout. Today I went for, 3-mile run, came home, got ready, put some actual clothes on, did my hair, put some makeup on, because really the thing of it is, I knew that I was working from home today. And even if most of your work or whatever you're doing from home is Zoom meetings or whatever, you will feel the way you show up. So when I get my makeup on and do my hair and put my jewelry on, I feel like me. I feel like, oh, this is me. This is how I show up. Now, 99% of the time, I have my slippers on because I love working from home. I have jeans on though. Got my jeans on, got my cute shirt, got my, all the regular stuff. So get up and get dressed. Get up and get ready. Whatever that means for you. Listen, y'all, I've been putting eyelashes on like every day. And it just makes me feel like this is me. And now I'm ready to contribute what I can contribute to the world. So if that helps you, and it probably will help you, because literally being in your PJs all day, save that for Saturday. That would be a good clue, like, because we don't have many other clues. Like this is the weekend. This is different than the weekday. It feels like Groundhog Day. And how do we know there's any difference? Well, one thing is you could get yourself dressed. Like that would help, I think, in if you're struggling with coping with what's going on and with anxiety. The third thing that I want to say is just permission to be anxious. Give yourself permission. Remember I said one of the things that I had listened to on a podcast was give equal airtime to both. So give yourself permission to be worried. Listen, I ain't gonna lie. I go down all the rabbit holes, all the conspiracy theories. Love me a good conspiracy theory. But I spend, for all the time that I spend down the rabbit hole or watching the news, I spend as much time on stuff that is uplifting, ways that I can grow. How can I continue to show up for my family and the people in my life the way I want to? So don't just spend your whole time down a dark rabbit hole of news, because I promise you, if we were tracking any other mode of dying right now, we would all be scared to death of everything. We'd be scared to get in our cars. If they were tracking, motor vehicle accidents, we'd be scared to leave our house. So the fact that it's so in our faces and on like a ticker that we can watch every day, it takes us sometimes to this weird dark place. So allow yourself a little bit of that. Give yourself, okay, I'm going to feel what I feel. I feel disappointed. Maybe everything has been canceled. Listen, you know where I was supposed to be a week ago, 2 weeks ago? I was supposed to be in Greece. I was supposed to be in Greece on a totally paid for vacation by Young Living. And we were going to go to Italy, and we were going to take our whole family. We already had our airline tickets. We had been planning on it for months. Guess what? Apparently, I wasn't supposed to be in Greece. But the disappointment that comes from that, it's okay to feel that. I feel disappointed. I thought it was going to be this way, and it's not this way. And they're probably not going to refund our flights, and just all the things that go along with that. Same for my daughter, who's a senior in high school. I think we try to protect ourselves against the disappointment. We try to say, well, I don't want to feel that, so I'm going to do whatever to not have to feel that. Or we don't want our kids to feel disappointed. But disappointment is a part of life. When you get to the place in your life where you are willing to be disappointed, where you're willing to just acknowledge, like, you know what disappointment feels like? It feels like, to me, it kind of chokes off my breath a little bit. I feel heavy in my throat and in my chest. It feels heavy and can feel despairing sometimes, depending on what you're disappointed about, and then it passes. So if you get to the point in your life where you can just welcome the disappointment, where you can welcome, like, I'm just going to get good at disappointment, then the thing that frees you up to do, it frees you up in so many ways, because you're not running from things that feel heavy to you. You're not, a lot of people are trying to build a business from home right now, or they're at least searching out, like, how could I work from home? You know what the hardest thing to get past when you want to work from home? You got to be okay with disappointment. You got to be okay when what you try doesn't work. You got to be okay, just learning to process that. Again, my daughter, who is a senior this year, so much disappointment. No graduation, no dance recital, no dance. I mean, she's used to dancing 4 or 5 hours a day every day. And so now that, it's just like she's just on her own to try to figure that out. And it's so easy for us to not want our kids to feel that, and to like do things like almost like manipulate things or manipulate the situation so they don't feel disappointed and we don't feel disappointed. But what a huge lesson to teach them that sometimes life is full of disappointment. And it's okay. I'm still here for it. I'm still so grateful to be alive. I'm still this is what we signed up for. Sometimes I think we believe the lie that things should just always be good. No, we were made for times like this when things aren't good. This is what we're made for. This is when the character is built. This is when we learn, what we're made of and who we are and where we need to work on. And like for me, this is where I learn that it's not really so good to just charge into a hard time and not feel the things you feel and just be overproductive. I wouldn't have learned that again for the 50th time about myself if not for this. So feel what you feel, but give equal airtime to the other side. The other side of not being able to go to Greece when I thought my family was going to be there on a free trip is we've been together so much. We really have enjoyed each other and had so much more time together, and probably more so than we would have had somewhere like that on a vacation. So equal airtime to both. Number 4, just because you're social distancing or because you're staying in your house doesn't mean that you don't need people. You need people so much. And reaching out to them, sending them love messages. I've basically been baking everybody's sourdough bread and taking it to them and letting them know that I love them. I think of you. I love you. I can't wait until we can, have our normal communion together. All of that kind of thing. So how can you do that in your own way? How can you still fill up that bucket of needing social interaction with people, even though you're not getting it in the way you think? Number 5, move your body. This one, you guys. Listen, nobody knows how hard it is sometimes to move your body like I do, because here's what happens to me. Again, my personality, go full steam ahead, probably get yourself injured, then can't move for 3 months. This has been my normal mode of operation for a long time. And instead of doing that, I really am trying to learn. Just move every day. It doesn't have to be crazy, break your body, workout. It doesn't have to be 10 miles, just a few miles. Just move your body, walking every day. We've been doing a lot of walking at my house, and in some ways it has felt like I'm so tired of this road. The little driveway that's kind of in front of our house is really long, but then you do it for so long that it's like, oh. But so today I went into town and ran, but in whatever way you can do it, move your body. Just move your body. Do some stretches, do something. It will relieve your stress. It will help your body cope. You will physically help yourself reduce your anxiety. Some goals. I more say this to the people who tend to underperform. Those of you who overperform, you've probably already hit all your quarantine goals. But some really good things came out of that for me. I have really obsessed myself with sourdough bread, and I feel like when I first started learning about sourdough bread about maybe a year ago, I kind of dabbled in it, but it felt hard and it didn't always turn out right. And so I didn't mess with it again. And so when I knew we were going to be in quarantine, I'm like, okay, this is my time. I'm going to dive into sourdough. And I basically have made a loaf of sourdough every day for, I don't know how many days, a lot of days. I have another one sitting on my counter. Once I get my method down, I will share it. I'm very close. But I feel like we rarely have the kind of time where we can just dive into something and become intimate with it and really learn it. And that's what I feel like I've been able to do. What a huge gift, because, we've just being able to, I don't want to say distract yourself, because that's what I tend to do, but I really do mean to pour yourself into something other than the news. To pour yourself into something that's something you're really interested in, that you're not just doing for a distraction, but you're really interested in. Hey, I really want to do this. I want to learn how to do watercolors. I want to whatever. So set yourself some kind of goal. You might be on quarantine for another month or another 2 months. I have no idea in your area how long it's going to last, but how could you figure out something that you want to at the end of it go, I'm so glad I took the time to do that. Maybe you just want to read some good books. The thing that I normally do when I have downtime, which is reading or knitting, I haven't done those as much because I have been obsessed with sourdough videos and the texture of the thing. Then I'll rewatch the video and go, does mine look like that? Or whatever. So I just fully immersed myself in sourdough school. But I do think it helps to give us something, just even something to look forward to, something to challenge us, something to get our brains thinking about something else besides the news. And the last thing, right now we feel anxious because here's why we say we feel anxious. We feel anxious because we don't know the future. But really, we've never known it. We feel anxious because we've lost something like finances, or everything's changed. We're going to lose our house. We lost our job, like something with finances. But the truth of the matter is, if you really get down to brass tacks, the things that you love the most have nothing to do with money. Being able to take a walk, having time with your family, making a meal. Most of what you really love in your life has very little to do with money or status or anything like that. It's also a time that a lot of us have been worried about our health. But again, that's never been a guarantee. It's never been a guarantee that tomorrow you won't get cancer, or you won't get a virus, or you won't die, or you won't whatever. So I think we operate in normal times with this false sense of like, okay, now I know what everything's going to be like. I know that the future is bright. Well, we never know that. And so I just think sinking into the fact that we have an opportunity here to really look at this in any way we want to. We can look at it like this is the worst thing that's ever happened, and there's so much uncertainty, and our country's going crazy, and people are more divided than ever, and we don't know how to treat this virus. All could be true. But does thinking that over and over serve us? And really, what I want to just convey to you is how much power you have in how you think about it. I had an episode a couple of weeks ago, semi-related to my mental, kind of emotional breakdown, where I had physical symptoms that were really scary. And of course, in a time of COVID, not a good time to have those symptoms. It was really scary. I ended up in the hospital, short time, everything's fine. But what I'm trying to say is, there were times during that I thought, I mean, things can just happen. Like, I can be going along and have exercised all day and eaten really good, healthy food, and for the last 6 years been taking great care of myself, and then just weird things can happen. But that was always true. And I just want to encourage you, and of course, even since that happened, I get to choose what I make that mean. And I get to choose whether being scared about something that might happen gets to take over my mind and my life or not. And I just, I took some time off, and I really took care of myself, and I'm not going to live in fear, because that could always be true. But right now, look at what I have. I have breath, and I have life, and I have the chance to be grateful, and the chance to go for a walk, and the chance to hug my family, and the chance to serve my community. So really learning to live into what we have right now, which was always up for grabs, which could always have been taken away in a heartbeat. So anyways, I hope that helps you. I hope that you can do some things that just will physically help ease your anxiety, will help you to trust in God, that His purposes are always at work. It doesn't matter what happens in the world. I firmly believe that His purpose will be served, His kingdom will come no matter what. And that, like, undying, abiding faith that I have in Him, that everything will be okay, that all is well, even if all doesn't feel well in my own life or in my own body, that belief that in Him all is well is so powerful. So I pray that that helps you, and that some of that is something that you go, yeah, I could start doing that. That really would help. I also see that one of our dear listeners, who is that? Miss Teresa. Miss Teresa is watching us from the hospital, you guys. And she's having a hard time. So I want everybody to pray for her today. And if you think about it, come back to this live stream and keep sending her love, keep sending her scripture, encourage her, pray over her. Miss Teresa, God loves you, and He has you in His hand, and He will take care of you. He will fight for you. And we pray that you will have His peace today, no matter what happens, and that you will just trust that His kingdom will come in your heart, in your life, no matter what. And I pray that you have a wonderful week, and that you can find ways to just trust that God will take care of this. Okay, love ya. Bye.